Join me as I dive deep into the history books to uncover Java's fiercest rebellion against colonial rule and see if I can piece together the untold stories. Imagine a charismatic prince declaring jihad not for territory, not for wealth, but for faith, resistance and destiny. Welcome to the Java War, one of the bloodiest revolts in Southeast Asian history. Over 100,000 lives lost, a colonial empire reshaped, and a hero born. Stay tuned. Over the course of 1825, word spread across Java that a great leader had risen to challenge the hated Dutch colonial regime. The island's princes had all but submitted to the might of the VOC, and then the Dutch colonial government. But this new leader would not compromise with the infidels. His name was Diponegoro, and he was about to light the fuse of a revolution that would forever change Java and the Netherlands' East Indian Empire. Let's get into it. Chapter 1, Backdrop and Diponegoro. Born of royalty, driven by faith, Prince Diponegoro was born into the Yogyakarta royal family, descendant of Islam's Holy Nine, Wali Songo. Passed over for the throne, he turned spiritual, claimed visions from Rottekittel and launched a holy war against the Dutch. Okay, let's rewind a little. In 1825, Java was a Dutch colony. Batavia was the capital. The island was divided into residency areas and local rulers held on to limited power. Diponegoro's father, Pekabuwono IV, was one such ruler. He ruled Yogyakarta and was nominally allied with the Dutch, but the relationship was tense. Since the collapse of the VOC in 1802, the Dutch colonial government had become increasingly aggressive in its efforts to extract resources and labor from their colonies, and they had been cracking down on the powers of the local kings. And they had set their sights on Yogya. Diponegoro was a deeply religious man who saw the oppression of his people at the hands of the Dutch. As a test of his faith, in 1823, he began receiving what he believed were divine revelations from Rottekittel, the spirit of the southern sea that commanded him to resist the Dutch. After years of contemplation and preparation, Diponegoro decided to take arms against the Dutch. He wrote down his thoughts and feelings in a book called Surat Centhini. Here he lays out his philosophy behind the war, which combined Islamic teaching, Javanese culture and nationalism. He argued that the Sultan of Yogya was divinely appointed, and that the Dutch occupation was a grave sin, so it was his duty to wage war against them. On June 21, 1825, Diponegoro summoned his armed forces and declared holy war. They numbered around 1,000 men and most were equipped with swords, spears and firearms. The Dutch garrison at Yogya consisted of only 8 Europeans and 150 natives. The rebels attacked them but failed to capture the forts, so they besieged the city. Throughout August, Diponegoro's forces bombarded the Dutch positions and cut off supplies to the town. On September 2nd, they burned large parts of Yogya, forcing the Dutch garrison to flee. Relief was on the way though. Colonel de Kock led a force of 2,000 men to relieve Yogya, marching 70 miles in just 5 days to reach the city on September 9th. The rebels retreated into the hills and plains of central Java. Diponegoro and his followers swept through central Java in 1826, winning battles at Lengkong and De Longu. But by late 1826, they returned back west of Surakarta. Yet the war was far from over. Chapter 3, Guerrilla Warfare. As open warfare faltered, Diponegoro shifted to guerrilla tactics from cellar-on caves, roaming fast, hitting hard. But their attacks couldn't match the ferocity and coordination of the early assaults. The Dutch began a massive offensive to root out the remaining rebels. Under General Von der Capellen, the Dutch would never fight in open battle again. Instead, they built hundreds of small forts across the countryside, creating a dense network of garrisons and supply depots. This proved highly effective as the guerrillas could not stand up to artillery fire from within the forts. Moreover, there were now long periods of quiet punctuated by sudden violent raids. All in all, the pacification campaign was going well, and by early 1828, only 20,000 square miles of central Java were still contested. However, Diponegoro's fortunes changed when a Dutch column encountered an ambush laid by Sentet Prawiradirjo, Diponegoro's fiery young commander. Sentet's men used bamboo fencing to direct the Dutch into a kill zone where they hacked and shot the enemy. Survivors who fled into the forest were picked off by snipers. Only 2 Europeans escaped alive. Word of the massacre reached the Dutch leadership, and from that moment on, Sentert became their greatest fear. In fact, even Dutch officers praised his tactical brilliance and fighting skills. But Sentert made a crucial mistake in December 1828 at Nangelen, when the Dutch fortified the area after hearing rumors of an impending rebel attack. Sentert charged forward anyway. His men attacked the fort, but were mowed down by artillery fire and rifles. Most of his men were killed, and Sentert barely escaped with his life. Now Diponegoro had lost his best general, and soon he would lose much more. By September 1829, Diponegoro and Sentert were trapped in Silok. Around 700 rebel troops defended the village against an enemy force of 4,000. For 3 days, they repelled attack after attack until the Dutch offered them a peace deal. Diponegoro accepted and laid down his arms, thinking he had secured honorable peace terms. But as he entered the Dutch headquarters to meet with the negotiators, he was arrested. His warriors were massacred. Dozens of Javanese nobles were killed. Many were bayoneted while kneeling in prayer, and so ended the Java War. Diponegoro spent his final years exiled in Sulawesi, dying in 1855. At least 200,000 civilians died from war, famine, disease, far more than the combined rebel and Dutch military losses. Chapter 4: The Aftermath. In the aftermath of the war, the Dutch reasserted their dominance over Java. The war had devastated the economy and infrastructure of the island, killing many of the island's inhabitants. The Dutch exploited the situation by introducing the cultivation system, also known as culturestelsel, which forced peasants to grow cash crops on part of their land in order to pay taxes to the government. This system was highly exploitative and caused widespread poverty and hardship among the Javanese people. Despite the hardships imposed upon them by the Dutch, the Javanese people showed remarkable resilience. They adapted to the new economic and political realities of their time, finding ways to maintain their cultural traditions and identity. The Java War left a deep and lasting impact on the history of Indonesia. It was a pivotal moment in the struggle between the Indonesian people and the Dutch colonial rulers. The war demonstrated the courage and determination of the Indonesians in their fight for independence and freedom. It also had far-reaching consequences for the development of modern Indonesia, shaping the country's national identity, its relations with the West, and its place in the world. Today, Diponegoro is remembered as a national hero of Indonesia. His statue stands in the center of Yogyakarta, and he is celebrated for his bravery and his sacrifice. The Java War serves as a reminder of the struggle for independence and the importance of freedom and justice. It is a story that continues to inspire generations of Indonesians and people around the world. So, do you think Diponegoro was a hero or a madman? Let me know in the comments section. Also, like and share if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.